Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Grief and Gathering podcast where we use our understanding of Magic the Gathering to help us tackle mental health intricacies and difficult to digest topics like death, grief, sex, trauma, and just other general hardships. I am your host, Ivy or Lady Foxglove. Either way is perfect. And this is a bit of a different episode because there isn't really a theme today. Some of you may have noticed that I've been a bit absent. I was doing really well, streaming on a consistent schedule, and then life happens. And so there's, again, no script or anything to this episode today. I just wanted to take some time and chat about what's been going on, what we do about it, and all of these pieces about when life feels like too much, because it's been happening a lot lately. And so, as always, there are some trigger warnings here. Namely, we're going to be, just generally, we talk about heavy things on this podcast. I, especially in an episode like this, don't know exactly what is going to come up. Of course, at the end, when in the description, you can find any specific trigger warnings, but just a general content warning. We talk about heavy things. We talk about death. We talk about sex. We talk about abuse, suicidality, mental health difficulties. All of those pieces are things that tend to come up in this show. And just because of the nature of this episode, I wouldn't be surprised if they came up today. But if you're not in a space where this is something you can access right now, I think that's okay. And it will never, ever, ever hurt my feelings if you're not in a place to listen. Because I know that this work is heavy. I know that these topics are heavy and hard to hear. And for a lot of us, myself included, we're not always in a space where we can listen to more heavy. Sometimes we need to take a break. I call it going ostrich for a bit, where we let ourselves put our head in the sand and all we're trying to do is survive. And so if that's where you're at, just know it's okay. I appreciate you spending these first couple minutes with me, and I encourage you to do something that feels safer and feels more accessible to where you're at right now. You all know I am not the only Magic the Gathering podcaster in this space. We're a little oversaturated, but you wouldn't have any issue finding other folks. But if you choose to stick around, just know how happy I am that you chose to do so. And if anything resonates with you particularly hard today, just know that, one, I see you and I hear you and I feel you. And my direct messages are open. Leave a comment. Let's have conversations. Because that's part of what makes mental health so challenging. And a lot of folks, as you know, were in a stream event this weekend. I was supposed to be in it and then unfortunately wasn't because I got very, very sick and had to be hospitalized. It was a whole big thing. But it was a stream in support of Trans Lifeline. And there was a panel hosted about what can you do in times like this. And it was looking at socially, politically, physically, mentally, all of the above. What do you do when the world around us feels like it's on fire? And so that video on demand will be available at a later point. I really encourage you all to check it out. I am still heartbroken that I was not able to be on it, but, I am so happy that that work is out there and that those things are taking place. But one of the things that was talked about on that, and one of the things I want to touch on, is what do we do when it feels like too much? Because it's a lot right now in this world. And whether you're queer, or a person of color, or disabled, or someone who is worried about keeping your VA benefits or Medicaid, welfare, whether you're a trans person. I don't know if I said that one yet or not. There are so many reasons to be afraid right now. And I see that. And what I will never do is sit here and say that you're wrong for being afraid. Because you're not. And I'm afraid too. But what do we do with that fear? Because fear is important. Fear is our body trying to tell us something. And usually what fear is trying to tell us is something needs to change. If you're afraid of the dark, it's because your body is trying to tell you it's not safe out here. Get into the light. Get into somewhere where you're not in danger. If you're afraid of spiders, your body is saying, let's not get by a spider. Let's not do this thing that will cause us harm. Fear is our body trying to keep us safe. But sometimes it's easy to get so overwhelmed and in our feelings of fear that we lose sight of what we can do with it. Because we're powerful people, y'all. And it's possible to make that fear work for us. But in order to do that, the very first thing we have to do is we have to take care of ourselves. And I'm wondering, as it's here, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I know I have not been taking very good care of myself. And so I have a few questions for you all. And I encourage you to stop this podcast as necessary and really take some time and think about your answers. My first question is how can you tell when it's starting to feel like too much? What signs exist? Maybe what signs come from your body that tell you that you're taking on too much? For me, I notice my self-care plummets. It becomes really hard to do basic care needs. And especially now that I have a child, a lot of the phoning it in that happens is I phone in what I need to do to take care of my son. And so I'm not left with a whole lot of extra energy for taking care of myself. I used to joke when I worked at a clinic for children and families who experienced a significant death in their lives. It was long hours. I usually worked 4 or 5, 10 to 12-hour days. And our groups didn't usually finish until about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And so, because our group therapy ran after work, so that the most people as possible could attend. And I used to laugh with the folks over there. I'd say, yeah, I can always tell when I'm not doing well because my caffeine consumption skyrockets. My food consumption goes down and my caffeine intake makes up for it. And that's still the case for me. Other things I notice is either a complete withdrawal from the things that I enjoy, whether that's playing games with friends, getting online, playing Marvel Rivals, or playing Magic the Gathering. And I notice that for me, a lot of it looks like withdrawal. It looks like not posting a podcast episode for longer than I would originally like. It looks like not posting any deck techs or deck lists, not uploading anything on TikTok. And that's usually my sign that things aren't going well. And so what are yours? How do you know that you're not doing well? Or what does your body do to tell you? Maybe you notice that you're getting really sick a lot of the time. You always have a headache, or your shoulders always feel tight. And that's something that we're going to explore a little bit more, actually, because we are going to do a little bit of a guided imagery activity. And again, this is different from our normal approach, but I hope you all will participate with me. So if you feel comfortable and if it feels safe to do so, I invite you all to close your eyes. If it doesn't feel safe to close your eyes, that's okay. Pick a spot on the wall. If you're listening to this while driving, maybe don't do either of those things. Maybe instead focus on driving safely. But if you're somewhere where it's safe to do so, I encourage you to close your eyes, find a fixed spot on the wall, find something that lets you focus. And I want you to put a hand on your stomach and a hand on your heart. I want you to feel your heartbeat. Acknowledge that that heart beating is a sign that you're alive. Your heart beating is a sign that you have survived 100% of your worst days, and you will continue to survive. But take note, is your heart beating fast or slow? And I want you to breathe in and out. And when you breathe in, I want you to really focus on expanding your stomach. You should be able to feel the hand on your belly. You should be able to feel it rise with each breath in and fall with each breath out. Good job. And I know folks who are listening to this are here because we share a common interest, and that is these silly games that we enjoy so very much, whether it's Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons or anything else that brings you joy. But we're going to do something really special for the next few moments, and we're going to create a happy place. And this is somewhere you can go to relax and to reset whenever the world feels like it's too much. And so I want you to close your eyes if they're not already closed and if it feels safe to do so. And I want you to think of a place where you feel happy. It can be a real place, but it doesn't have to be. You can use your imagination as much as you want. And you don't have to feel silly for using your imagination, because nobody has to know about this other than you. This is your special, secret, happy place. Where is your happy place? Is it at your local game store? Is it at your kitchen table, surrounded by friends? Maybe it's in the sky, or underwater, or by a creek. Wherever it is, I want you to take a moment and imagine looking around. What can you see in your happy place? Do you see people, or are you by yourself? Who's with you? Do you see people everywhere playing games? Do you see your cards sprawled along the kitchen table? Do you see some leaves floating along the river? Take a minute and think about what you see in your happy place. Take a big breath in and out. Let yourself feel some pride for taking care of yourself in this way right now. And then turn your attention to what you would hear in your happy place. Would you hear people shouting and laughing? Would you hear the sound of cards shuffling? Do you hear the wind rustling the leaves on the trees? Maybe your happy place is quiet and you don't hear anything at all. Maybe you hear your favorite song or a loved one's voice. Whatever you hear is what you need to hear, because this is your happy place and no one gets to tell you it's wrong. And let's bring our attention to our fingers and our toes, to our skin. What can we feel in our happy places? Can you feel grass under your fingers? A slow current of water running across your toes? You feel cardboard between your hands as you're getting ready to shuffle up and play another game with your favorite people in the world. Maybe you're with your pet and you're feeling their fur, or you're holding a partner close. This is an amazing place that you're making. And take a big inhale through your nose and out. What does your happy place smell like? Does it smell like your favorite food? Does it smell like a special person's perfume or cologne? Your favorite flower? Maybe your local game store has pizza every time you're in, and that's what you smell in your happy place. And to go with that, Think about if there's anything you can taste. Do you have a favorite food or drink in your happy place? Or maybe you can taste the rain on the air. I invite you to take a couple more minutes or moments and let yourself sit here in this place that you've created. And I invite you to let yourself feel some pride for what you've done here today. Because you have done something so special. You have created a place where you can go to reset whenever the world feels a little too scary. And I'm not saying that you need to go here all the time, but now whenever you need it, it's here. And you can go and take a breath and then leave when you're ready, knowing that this magical place you've created will be waiting for you when you decide to come back again. I'm so proud of everything that you're doing, in case no one else has told you today. You're doing the work and it shows. And maybe you've made some mistakes recently. Maybe your brain is trying to tell you that you're not good enough, or that your friends hate you, or that the world would be better if you weren't in it. All of those things aren't true. And I know you know that, but I'll be here to say it anyways. If you haven't already, I encourage you to open your eyes and come back and think about what that was like for you. Were you able to do it? What did it feel like? If it's not something you were ready to do yet, that's okay. It's hard. It's hard to let ourselves be still. But even if you just listened along, I'm so proud of you for staying. And I know things are so hard right now. Gosh, I know things are hard. But the magic of this community truly is in the gathering. And when everything else feels like too much, I encourage you to remember how special it is that you have found yourself in a community where people not only share an interest of something of yours that's important to you, but where people care, where people donate hours of their time to support others, where people will see someone who they don't know and do everything in their power to include them. A community where people put so much emphasis on safety and so much emphasis on making sure that hate truly has no home here. And you're a member of this community. And so when you feel alone or that the world doesn't want you around, when your brain tries to tell you those lies, come back. Come back and listen. Come chat with me or someone else that you're close with, a friend in your circle, go to a game store and talk with a stranger and let yourself, in that minute of vulnerability, open yourself up to the potential of forming something really, really great and really new. I know that this has been a harsh deviation from our normal episodes, and we'll be back on Tuesday for a more typical episode where we'll be looking at moving through the phases of making a mistake when we're playing and in life. And so I encourage you all to tune in on Tuesday or Wednesday for that release. And in the meantime, just remember how much better the world is with you in it. Once again, I am Lady Foxglove. This has been the Grief and Gathering podcast, and I will look so forward to the next time that we get to spend some time together.